Hey, yo, what it is and what's good, y'all? Welcome back to 280 Plus, the social media podcast where I take the conversations off the timeline and go beyond the tweets. I'm your host, Low Steph, and I am back here with another episode 150. 150, drop and give me 50. You heard me? You know what I'm saying? If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. You know what I mean? Would greatly appreciate it. Help the channel grow. We are, we're over 1,000 subscribers. I think we're at like 1140. I think we're at like 1140 right now. So yeah, and the algorithm's been a little bit weird with the shorts and stuff like that, but we still cooking, man. We still rocking out. Um, if you're if you like the content, you know what I mean, share the content. If you got something to say, you want to leave a comment, do that, please. We get a lot of we get comments on the shorts, get comments on Instagram and stuff like that, but like, just on some of the long form stuff, we just want to kind of improve the engagement because it helps the channel out, man. So yeah, man, back for another episode, and I'm here solo today. And I was gonna try to record last night, and then I didn't have my outline together. So we gonna and we've been dropping on Fridays. We just been dropping Fridays lately, and that's just kind of been the trend. I think we're gonna be kind of reverting back because I think we got a little bit more free time. So we're gonna get back into the Wednesday or Thursday type of schedule coming up. Now it's the summer. It's easier to reach out to some people, and you know what I mean, hopefully we get some collaborations pretty soon. I've been open and vocal and saying, I'm open to having people from like year one, coming back on the show. People that have not, we haven't seen uh just even with the new set, like just the latest setup, because we this is going through a couple different iterations, and the look is a certain way. So there's people that are like OG guests that like when I was still using a webcam. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have graphics, I didn't have anything. I didn't even have a backdrop for some episodes. So yeah, hopefully, we can circle the block with some things like that and get some conversations going, man. But today we're gonna talk about the NBA playoffs and where we kind of stand right now. We're gonna talk about a movie that I saw twice. I actually saw this brand new movie twice, Planet of the Apes, right? The new Planet of the Apes. We're gonna talk about that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We're gonna talk a little bit about Vivica A. Fox, and then a small update in terms of Champagne Poppy, man, and the latest that he's kind of doing right now. So let's just kind of get started with just I guess just in general, just catching up, man. Like I said, summertime is here. You know what I mean, and we definitely did the cookout thing last week for Memorial Day. Didn't get into any pools yet. Didn't get into any pools yet, but I plan on taking a Hershey Park trip by myself. Like I plan on shooting up there by myself. The reason why I would go by myself is because I can get on the adult roller coasters. My son is not yet a Twizzler. He's a couple inches away from being a Twizzler, man. And it's kind of pissing me off a little bit. It's not pissing me off like I'm not mad at him. I'm just like like we've been season pass holders now for like 5 years, and he's 10 years old. He's getting taller, but he's not quite at that level. And I think he's gonna probably hit a growth spurt. That's what everybody keep telling me. Like, oh, he'll grow, he'll hit a growth spurt. And I'm like, all right, well, what I mean, when it happens, it happens. Swim season for him is starting back up, man. So about to be a little bit busy with that type of stuff, the evening stuff. But I got a nice schedule. That's all I'll say on here. I got a nice schedule for the next couple months. And I'm ready to just like really, really get back into the content. And not that we've gone away from the content, but just really honing in and diving in and getting into some conversations. Uh what's up? Last week's show, we talked about Diddy. I haven't really heard too much updates from that. I did see, I don't know if y'all seen this, whatever, and this is what gets annoys me. I just and call me cynical, but it's I just seen this headline was like, oh, insiders say that Biggie was about to leave Bad Boy. So that's so basically like alluding to Diddy being the one that like set it up, whatever. But this is what bothers me about the internet is like they'll be like insiders and then they won't drop nobody's name. Now there the one thing that I saw it said like a photographer had mentioned something like he was gonna leave, but it was like insiders. So it's like they don't be wanting to drop nobody's name. And then I seen like, there's a lot of urban platforms on Instagram. Like you got the Savoy Show, you got Ball Alert, you got Say Cheese, you got Culture Sours, you got a lot of like these other like platforms. So they'll post something, and the one thing they posted, it was like this girl talking about her uncle and how her uncle got invited to Biggie's section back in the day, and Biggie told her uncle that he was gonna leave. And it's like, girl, you was 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? And they had the same kind of caption about insiders. It's like she's not an insider. If you're talking about this woman that was a child and she's hearing something secondhand from her uncle, that's not an insider, man. There's a lot of people that feel that he has something to do with it. There's people that feel that he has something to do with Pac. There's even theories in comment sections like, oh well, Pac and Suge, they work together to get rid of the artist, and I'm like, that don't even sound like what sense does that make? Why would Suge Knight and P Diddy, who were business rivals, I mean, East and West Coast rivals, why would they team up to get rid of their artists, their cash cows? Like I don't understand that. Maybe the theory about Diddy being upset that Biggie was going to leave, so it's like, oh, what I mean, if you're going to go, you gotta, what I mean, you gotta, I don't know, I gotta get you out of here. So like you can't really go, like you just gonna go to another place in the universe. I don't know. I don't know. It might be something to it, but I don't get into that type of stuff, man. I need facts, I need proof and things like that. I guess the latest thing, we said we wasn't gonna talk about Drake and Kendrick Lamar. One, it's been quiet in terms of, May is coming to a close. So by the time this episode comes out, it's gonna be probably last day of May. If Kendrick does not drop on the 31st, all that stuff about him dropping the album, him getting in album mode, I mean that was just noise. Drake, we haven't heard like if or when Drake is dropping an album. So I don't know what's going on with there, but like we haven't heard anything. But the latest thing, and I thought it was very clever. And there's a lot of people that are trying to take credit for saying this, but Sexy Red just dropped the album. Last Friday she dropped the album. And no, I did not listen to the Sexy Red album, but there was the one song that everybody it went viral. It went viral in terms of like people talking about it. I don't know if the song itself is viral. I don't know who's like really banging this song, but there's a song on her new album called You My Everything. And the reason why it hit the headlines was because it uses uh it uses the BBL Drizzy sample. Now it's misleading because when you see the headline, it says, "Oh, Drake hops on the BBL Drizzy beat and on Sexy Red song." It's only like a portion of the song, and really like it's most of his verse, whatever, but it's not even the whole verse, but it's only a portion of the song where they use that BBL Drizzy. So it was a little bit confusing. So I turned on the song, You My Everything, and man, I'm gonna just say that I don't know how Sexy Red has a career in music. Like at this point, it has to be like it's almost like she's like a parody artist. Like is she like a Weird Al for ratchet bitches? You know what I'm saying? Like is that what we're going for? So y'all know Weird Al Yankovic, he was just like a parody rapper, you know what I mean? He made comedy albums. Everything that he did was like a spoof on something. So I feel like Sexy Red is like the same thing. Like she's like a spoof on like ratchet black women. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's just so animated. And the thing is like you ain't gotta be the best vocalist, but like y'all could put something on her voice to make her like y'all could if we already feel like there's a lot of people that feel like she's an industry plant, right? So go all out on the industry plant thing and like make her sound like a great artist on the record. So it starts off with her singing and like, it's like her singing off key and like we've seen rappers do it, we've seen male rappers do it, and it's kind of like funny when they do it. And it's like, oh, okay, like this guy can't sing, whatever. Like, think Biz Marquee, um, I don't know, even what Ja Rule, 50 Cent, like when these guys singing off key, Jay-Z singing off key, and I wish I never met her at all. Like it's kind of funny. It's like comical when they do it. Maybe maybe it's supposed to be funny when she does it, but it just said like you hear it and you're just like you're cringing. You're like like I cannot listen to this. And I just can't take her seriously. Like she don't make music for me, but like I don't know who she really makes music for because it's not even palatable. It's not enjoyable music. Like I just don't see how you can, listen to her and enjoy it. But anyway, so there's a part of the song where basically they use the BBL Drizzy, the Metro Boomin's like his beat or part of his beat in the song. And people know like that's a copy. Metro Boomin made that a copyright free thing, so like anybody could hop on it. And I thought Drake kind of slid on that part of the song. Like I thought he kind of slid on it. I thought he was rapping on there. There's a lot of people though that have mixed feelings. They're like, oh, which is like it's like y'all don't see the bigger picture, but like it's a lot of people saying like, oh, he has no self awareness. Like, why would he do that? That's corny. Oh, this is corny. This ain't it. This ain't it. And I think they're saying it's not it because if you hear like the first 2.5 minutes of the song, you hear Sexy Red rapping and trying to sing, and you're probably thinking like, yeah, this is trash because yeah, it was trash. But then once Drake gets on there, and then once the beat flips, whatever, I like what Drake did. Drake, he flipped the concept of BBL Drizzy, and basically instead of it being about him having a BBL, it's about him funding BBLs. Women wanting to get BBLs to get with him. Like it's like that was the vibe. I mean, him sponsoring the BBLs. And I thought that was dope. I thought that was dope. People said that he should rebrand BBL Drizzy to mean bad bitches love Drizzy, which that would be dope too. Um, there's a lot of different content creators and even people posting that are trying to take credit for this. They're like, I called it. I called it. I said that he should rap on, they're like, I said that he should rap on the BBL Drizzy beat. He needs to rap on it. I've heard a lot of people say that. Like, I've heard people in real life say, like, plenty of people in real life say that. So I think that's kind of obvious. I don't think that we, I don't think we need people that make content to give other content creators credit for that because it seems like that was an idea that a lot of people had. A lot of people thought like, "Yo, he should flip this." And that's the only way to get through it. And I thought it was dope. I thought what he did on that was dope. The song is not good though. The song is not good overall because of, the artist that's involved in that. But I thought it was clever. I thought it was a good use of you know, like I said, bar flipping and trying to change the narratives and stuff like that. So, what do y'all think, man? Did y'all hear BBL? Did y'all hear "You My Everything"? Sexy Red's album. Did you hear? Comment below if you've listened to Sexy Red's album in any piece of it. Tell me how it is because I'm not gonna listen to it. If you curate an experience for me, you tell me like certain songs like yo check this out because of this. Like you're gonna have to. I ain't gonna lie. You're gonna have to give me like a little bit of explanation. Like you can't just say listen to this song, listen to this song. Like you're gonna have to give me like a couple sentences of like explanation because there's nothing that's gonna make me like just go to these tracks, whatever. So what y'all think? What y'all think? I'm just curious. I'm curious to hear your thoughts and opinions on that. All right, man. Let's talk about this is gonna be the longest probably section of the show. And we're gonna talk about the NBA playoffs. All right. So got a lot to talk about. And damn, man, it's been a turn of events. It's been a turn of events now in the NBA playoffs. So when we look at the first two rounds of the playoffs, right? The first two rounds of the playoffs, highly competitive, and you're just like you're watching the playoffs, and you're like, damn, like this is a good playoff postseason. You know what I'm saying? The NBA play 2024 NBA playoffs is dope. Like it, you know, seven of the 12 series in the first two rounds, seven of the 12 series went to 6 or 7 games. So that's, I mean, you get more than half of the series go to 6 or 7 games. That's competitive. I think we had like two sweeps in the first. I think we had two sweeps in the first round. I mean, in the first, I think we had a handful of sweeps. And then we had some series that went 5 games. You know what I'm saying? But we're getting 6 and 7 game series, right? However, now that we're still in the conference playoffs, and it might end tonight. The conference, I mean, based on this, when this is recorded, the Western Conference Finals might be over by after tonight. You know what I'm saying? Or we might stay alive and we might see a game six over the weekend. But as of right now, it's not looking too good. But um it's just crazy how, like, yeah, we went from highly competitive to like two series like this. The Western Conference Finals could have been like easily could have been a sweep. Easily could have been a sweep. And then the Eastern Conference Finals was a sweep. Now, there were some competitive games on the East side. You know what I'm saying? Pacers and Celtics, there were some competitive games. But what I'm gonna say is that in the conference finals this year, the losers, whoever ends up losing, which I mean, we could kind of foresee who's gonna lose. There's pivotal games in these series that are gonna haunt both of these teams, and I'm gonna say the game that's gonna haunt them, and then we're gonna break down the series for each one. All right. So let's start with the East because that one's already over. Sorry, so we can just recap and we could just talk about these guys, right? So like I said, both of these conference finals, there's gonna be one game that haunts the losing team, right? For the Pacers, the game, like when they look back at their season, what's gonna haunt them is actually game one. That game one overtime loss is going to haunt them because if they win game one, it's a totally different series. You know what I mean? Like I'm not confident to say that it was gonna end in 5 games. I'm not even confident to say if they win game one, yeah, I mean, maybe the Celtics still win, but maybe the Celtics win in 6 or 7 games. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they win in 5, though. You know what I mean, if the Pacers win game one, right? So game one's always gonna haunt them because they had the game in the bag and then they kind of folded at the end, and then you let the Celtics tie it up, and I mean, you go to overtime. So a lot of times with the overtime, I would say it's, I mean, some of it is will, some of it is luck, but I think it's just talent. Who has the better roster, right? So when you're facing a team like the Celtics, they have a ton of firepower. They have a ton of firepower. It's not gonna bode well for y'all. It's not gonna bode well for you to go into an overtime because you got at least two guys that we could call closers or like have that ability to close a game. And we talk about Tatum and Brown. And then you got a veteran guy who has championship experience in Drew Holiday that can get you a bucket. Then you got an X factor player like a Derek White who can get you a bucket. Like they have too many weapons, they have too many ways to hurt you for you to be confident going into an overtime, especially when your team is young and you might not have the talent. So I think losing game one overall did take away the Pacers confidence, right? I think they were trying to fight back ever since that first loss. But if they steal game one, if they get away with that one, then we got a totally different series. Game two was this is when the Celtics kind of hit their stride because, and again, I talked about game one and I was saying like, yo, the Celtics cannot play this young team like that. Like they cannot have a high scoring game with this kind of young team because it's not gonna bode well for them. It's gonna get ugly. So game two, it was all Celtics. It was all Celtics. And this was the 40-point Jaylen Brown game. This was the game where Jaylen Brown was mad. Like a lot of people feel like he was mad because he was snubbed for his all NBA appearance. So this is the game he went off. So there's nothing to really analyze with game two because Boston had total control. You had Jaylen Brown say, like, I'm the best player on my team, and they went off, right? Game three, though. Game three is where it gets interesting. Game three is where it gets interesting, and that was a wild game. That was a wild game, interesting game. But from the rip, thought the Pacers was gonna get blown out because they didn't have Tyrese Halliburton in that game. Um, so not having Halliburton, you're like, all right, that's their best player, that's their star player. Pack it up, man. Pack it up. They go out to lose their first home game of this series. And it's crazy because even without Halliburton, the Pacers were hooping. The Pacers were hooping. I gotta see the stats of this guy. So they had this young guy named Nemhard, um, who went crazy in game three. Nemhard. Yeah, Andrew Nemhard. He's a Canadian basketball player. I gotta see. Let's see. Nemhard, game three, Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, he played amazing in that game. Andrew Nemhard. What was it? I need the box score. I need the box score. I mean, if it's just crazy because when something like that happened, he had career high 32 points. He had 32 points. 4 for 4. He was 4 for 7 for 3-point range, 4 for 4 from the line, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, right? Played 39 minutes, right? He went crazy. So that's the thing, though. I mean, he was going off. The Pacers were hitting their shots. Miles Turner had a great game, right? And everything is full cylinders. The Celtics weren't necessarily playing bad. Like they just offensively, they just were kind of like slow, and it didn't amount to anything. But the Pacers had control over the game the whole time, right? So by the third quarter, I'm watching the game. Third quarter, the Pacers are up by 18 points, right? The Pacers were up by 18 points, like even with like 5 minutes left in the third quarter. But I said, in the way that earlier in the game, a lot of times, yeah, I mean, with basketball, a lot of times, not all the time, a lot of times you can kind of pack it up, right? If somebody has control and then they have a big lead, it's probably like, all right, I mean, we could turn the game off. So I end up watching something else. I end up, which actually, you know what? I could talk about that too, but we'll get into that. What else I was watching? So I watched the show, hour-long show, turned it back, and I'm figuring like, oh, the game been over. The game had just ended, and the Celtics won by 3 points. And I said, what the hell happened? Well, yeah, I mean, it probably by up until the end of the third. I think the Celtics were able to cut it down to maybe like 10 to 12 points, right? But then it was the fourth quarter, and even the Celtics, the Pacers had like an 8 point lead with like a minute and a half left. You know what I'm saying? Like 2 minutes left. They had like an 8 point. I think it was like 2 minutes 30. They had an 8 point lead. So they, still in decent shape. But the Celtics, man, they fought back. And the Celtics are showing that like they can win in multiple ways. They can win if they have a lead, right? So they can steamroll you. They can win a close game, and then they can even come back even when the other team has total control. They can make the right defensive stops, and they can come back and beat you unexpectedly, right? Unexpectedly. So that's kind of what happened in game three. And I think that was the game that really I mean, game one hurt the Pacers, but game three definitely took their hearts because it's like, yo, we gave y'all our best shot, and we looked like we were playing better. We looked like we were playing better than we have all series, right? Without our star player, and then we still lose. And then game four was kind of a wash, and then we ultimately get the sweep, and it was not really nothing to really talk about there. Um, there's a lot of people that do not feel, and I'm kind of skipping my outline a little bit, but there's a lot of people that feel that the Celtics are pretenders And I even heard somebody say like, "Oh, should they put an asterisk on this because they did that with with the Lakers when they won in the bubble?" And I'm like, the bubble is totally different than the reason why the bubble is totally different than even now, and the reason why people say there was asterisks. One, there was no fans. There was no spectators. Yo, spectators having home court advantage, like that matters. Like that matters. That intensity. It's like you're just playing amongst yourselves. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like practice. Like if you're playing in the bubble, it's like practice. Yeah, you got some media in the stands, but there's not like a lot of loud cheering and things like that. Another thing with the bubble, the people that this is the part that people forget is that like they had remember we had COVID shutdown and then we get the bubble, but like the bubble didn't happen right away. So, because remember, the season ended in like, the season ended in like September, October. Like, it was crazy. So, like, there was a couple months without playing basketball. Then the bubble happens. So, like, if you were kind of hurt, like, you got rejuvenated and things like that. So, like, the bubble is an asterisk. People are saying the Celtics deserve an asterisk, or they might because every series that they played, somebody got hurt. That's just a part of basketball. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we can look back and say, all right, we can look back and say, their strength of schedule, their postseason schedule wasn't that strong, but that happens every time. Yeah, I mean that happens. And also when you're the let's not forget, they had the best record in the East. They had the best record in the NBA. When you're the number one seed, your competition is always going to look weaker than you. But yeah, Jimmy Butler did get hurt in the Heat series. Um so it was like what were we going to get out of them? You know what I'm saying? Were we actually going to get um were we going to actually get like the Heat like, you know, shocking the world? Maybe, maybe not. You know what I'm saying? They were an eighth seed for a reason. I mean, they weren't that great. Um, then Donovan Mitchell was hurt in the Cavs series. The Cavs, let's it don't matter if the Cavs had Donovan. The Cavs were not beating the Celtics. Like let's so what? So what if he got hurt? They were not gonna beat the Celtics at all. They were not gonna beat the Celtics in those series. And then we got Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton might be the one case that we could say, like, oh, you never know. But like I still don't think that they were gonna the Pacers were gonna be now. The Pacers might not even be in that position because they might have lost to the Bucks if they had Giannis, but I think the Celtics can beat the Bucks. You know what I'm saying? So no, let's not put an asterisk on it. Let's just kind of think ahead though, real quick, and let's just like look at some facts. So, although people are saying, they look at the East as not being as strong, and yes, postseason play is different, but the Celtics have a 23-7 record against the West. And and if we think about like teams that are still in it, right? So they split with Minnesota, right? It was like the Minnesota beat them the very first game of the season. And then later on, the Celtics got them back. Um, in terms of the Celtics beat the Mavericks twice this year. They beat them both matchups that they played, and I think they split with the Nuggets. And I know the Nuggets are not in it, but if we're thinking about like good teams, yeah, they didn't lose to any. They didn't lose a season series like the 2 game series. They didn't get swept by any West team, and they were 23-7, 23-7. So they got a pretty good record. And it's all, a lot of these wins are against these playoff teams. It's not like they have their losses. Well, they would have like one loss to some of these guys. Like they lost once to the Lakers, they lost once to OKC. Obviously, I said the Minnesota they lost. They lost once to Denver. I think they lost to the Clippers one time. I forget their other two losses, but I think they might have lost to Phoenix one time. You know what I'm saying? So like it was kind of spread out, but they have a high winning record against the West. So not saying that, obviously postseason play is different, but let's not sleep on the Celtics. All right. So we'll get back into them a little bit later. All right. So let's talk about the Wolves, man. God. The Timberwolves versus Mavericks. So like I said, each of these series is going to have a game that's going to haunt. the team that's either eventually loses or the team that's losing the series currently, right? So for the Mavs and Timberwolves, that game is game two. That game is game two. All right. Game two is going to be that game that haunts Minnesota because what the fuck were they doing? Like that's that when I watched that game, I was like, what the fuck are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? So game one, you know what I mean? Mavericks win, and Luca had like a great game, right? I think he had 30 points in that. He had over 30 points in that first game. So game two was like last Friday, and I'm watching the game, and I'm excited. I'm excited, but like one thing that we can see though is that like the Timberwolves, although they have a good defense, they're having a tough time containing and defending Luca and Kyrie, right? So the Mavericks are balling right now. The Mavericks are balling, and those two that's looking like a crazy dynamic duo. Now it didn't come to fruit. Nothing came of it last year when they didn't even make the playoffs, right? They missed the playoffs after Kyrie got there. But like they're showing they got it together a little bit and they're balling out now. So game two, oh my God. So this is game two made me realize a couple things. There's a couple things that like have become evident in this series, right? So a couple things. This series shows us that number one, the defensive player of the year award is too focused on rim protection, right? Rudy Gobert is a good shot blocker, but that's it. That's it. He's not a good let's stop calling him a good defender because he blocks shots. And if we're gonna give it to a shot blocker, then give it to Wembyana because Wembyana had way more block shots. Wembyana's a better defender because Wembyana can guard guys off the dribble. If you put oh my God, that was crazy. Game two again, and we're gonna talk about game two again, but kind of just showing y'all what this series showed us. So it showed us that the defensive player of the year award is too reliant on rim protectors, and maybe Rudy did not deserve the defensive player of the year award this year. Another thing that this series has shown us is that maybe Ant-Man is just not ready for the bright lights yet. Maybe Ant-Man is not ready for the big stage yet because wow. And a lot of this has to do with game two, but Ant-Man has been quiet. Ant-Man has been quiet in the fourth quarters of a lot of these games now. Ant-Man he's not the same player that we're seeing from the Nuggets series. He's not the same player that we were seeing against Phoenix, right? Like he's quieted down. You know what I mean, maybe because he has to work a little bit more on defense or what, but he's quiet. It's also showing that this series is also showing us that matchups are very important. Matchups are very important when we talk about playoff basketball. And whatever it is about the Mavericks, they're matching up really well against the Timberwolves. I don't think their bigs are better. Like Lively and Gafford, I don't think they're better than Cat and Gobert, but they are sure hungrier than Cat and Gobert. Like they're the type of players that like they're willing to give it they're willing to do the dirty things to win a game. Cat, like he just seems like a guy that wants to get points. He don't really get big in the paint. um Rudy Gobert is an offensive liability. Like Rudy Gobert does not really have offense. He has rim protection. That's literally he's a one-dimensional player. And it's like what they're doing is they're getting guys either like they're either pulling them out of the paint. They're just using a lot of different strategies to kind of make Rudy Gobert really look like useless out there. You know what I mean? And part of it was that game two loss as well. Um, I say matchups are interesting because for whatever reason, the Timberwolves matched up really well against the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets were kind of just going through a scoring slump, right? Like some of it was the defense, but I think they just weren't hitting shots. Like they could not generate points consistently against them. And again, that's offense, partly that's defense, but part of it is like too the offense. They're not getting going, and they match up well. Now, granted, remember that did go 7 games, so like they did get the best of the Timberwolves 3 times, but they could not close them out. But I say matchups are interesting because I think the Nuggets smoked the Mavericks. If the Nuggets got to the conference finals, I don't think I think Kyrie and Luca would have good games, but like Kyrie and Luca would not be enough to beat the Nuggets because the Nuggets are like a complete team. Again, they didn't pull it together. They don't have I mean, they have really good backcourt play in Murray. Then it kind of tails off, but then they got really good front court play. If we're talking about the front courts, I think the front court of Denver dominates the front court of Dallas, right? Just because that's just how they play a little bit. I don't know, like the front court of Minnesota is not dominating. It's not dominating Dallas. So I just think so that's what's telling us that this shows us that matchups matter. And like I think that the Timberwolves, they don't I mean, although they do have a good backcourt, it's just it's a little bit too they got a little bit too much firepower in the backcourt of when we talk about Kyrie and Luca. But let's go back to game 2. So game 2 pissed me off so much because Ant-Man made quite a few mistakes. Now, every player, I mean, these are just growing pains, right? So every player is not going to be perfect. Every player has to face some adversity, and they got to learn. They got to learn the hard way sometimes. So it was late in that game. It was probably like I would say the last like 2-3 minutes, like Ant-Man played horrible, right? He might have had some points here and there. But he's one thing that people are pointing out is that they think he's dribbling too much, right? He's dribbling too much. And if you looked at it, he was throwing a lot of errant passes, like a lot of wild passes that just didn't really make sense, and it really put their team in jeopardy. So a lot of people in game 2 were blaming Jaden McDaniels because it was like it was I feel like it was less than a minute left, and he gets that ball on the baseline. But Ant-Man dribbled a lot. He did this like crazy jump pass, and Jaden McDaniels had to reach out and grab it, right? Juggle the ball, and then like somebody hit his arm. I mean, it kind of people felt like maybe somebody hit the ball and it went out on him, and like people were blaming Jaden Daniels, and I'm like, no, like, yo, Anthony Edwards put this man in the worst position. Yeah, I mean, it was a bad pass, right? Like, why are you doing that? Like, swing it around, take a shot, attack the rim, do something. But you out here doing that crazy stuff. It's like that's not gonna work. Then then, right, they're up by 3 points, right? And they get their possession, and Ant-Man has the ball, and he kind of gets stuck right at the elbow of the foul line, right? He kind of gets stuck there, and now we've seen him do some crazy stuff where he'll take a shot attempt like or slam it off the backboard and then follow his shot and try to get something in that situation. Either you swing it out to a clearly wide open person, or I would say you just take the shot and you crash and you see what happens. But instead, he tried to make a pass to Nas Reed on the wing, and Nas Reed was already like shifting up, and like Ant-Man throws it out of bounds. So then I think they were only up by 2 at that point. They were only up by 2. So then what happens is the next possession is the Luca basically the game winner possession. And oh my God. On a play like that, I think when you got a guy that's a liability on the perimeter like Gobert, and you have a team that's looking for that switch, right? They're looking to screen somebody. They're looking to screen somebody so there's a switch there. So I think you got to take a guy like Gobert out of the game. You know what I mean? Sacrifice a rebound, sacrifice rim protection and rebounding for defense, because at the end of the day, you cannot let Luka take a three. Like you cannot, whoever their shooters are, you can't. You have to run them off the line. Like they can't in that situation. They can't even get an attempt, right? They can't get a good look. You want to force them to the basket. You need somebody to run them off the line. So even if there is a switch, if you have a perimeter defender on him, or even somebody that's just a little bit more athletic, right? You put it in a way, like you put them in a position to where like you get Luca to drive, you know what I mean? You get Luca to pass it out. You know what I mean? You get the ball out of Luca's hands, or you get him to go to the rim. And they didn't do that. There's a switch. You got Rudy Gobert 1-on-1, game on the line, keeping Doncic, and Luca was like, "Oh, what? Like, oh, this is exactly what I wanted." So he, you know what I mean? All he did was a couple little moves to get his space. Had your boy Gobert dancing. He was dancing with the stars out there, you know what I'm saying? And then boom, he basically hit the game winner. And then I think there was like 3 seconds left. Finch does not draw up a good enough play. And Nas Reed was hitting 3 pointers, but like that's not who you wanted to take the shot. And you don't even need a 3 pointer. I mean, you got to draw up a play to where you're getting guys that you got to attack the rim. Like these, oh my God. Like when you're down by two, sure, you could take a 3-point shot. When you're down by one, you should not be taking no 3-point shot. Like like you don't need to win by two, you need to win by one. You need to win by 1 point. So attack the rim, get fouled, something. But it wasn't in the cards for them. So the game two is going to be the one that haunts them. Um, and then game three, I think the Mavericks just had their stride, and they were just like, yo, we're fucking this team up. Like they can't really mess with us. Even though it was pretty competitive, it still was like it's looking like levels. The Wolves did finally win game four, right? So they did force a game five that is going to be Thursday night. And again, we won't know the outcome, but it seems like a foregone conclusion that the Dallas Mavericks are going to go to the NBA Finals. It's improbable, maybe not impossible. It is improbable that the Timberwolves are going to win this series, being down 3-0, starting the series out 3-0. If it happens, then yeah, we can be quiet and like stop criticizing Ant-Man. But I just don't think, man, like there just been a couple moments in this series to where it's like I mean he's the man, but no, he's not. Like I think he got caught up too much in being called the face of the league. I think that's getting to his head a little bit. And it's like, no, dog, you gotta keep on playing. You gotta keep on playing. So that's that on that. And then I guess the only thing that we got to say is okay. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Mavericks though. So I would say that Kyrie and Luca, they are out for blood. Last year they missed the playoffs. It did look like a disaster. I thought that this was a fluke, and like, you know, they weren't gonna be able to figure it out. They definitely figured it out, right? And they learned how to mesh together. Their big man play with Gafford and Lively is crazy, right? Um, this is what makes what makes those guys crazy is that the fact that they alternate, so they play off of each other, right? They don't play at the same time, they play off of each other, and then when they're put in the game, they're told to go 100%. So like these guys are splitting minutes, so like they don't got to play the whole game, but like when they're in the game, they're giving it all effort. Like Gafford is like he's a lob threat, right? He's going crazy. He does offer rim protection. Lively offers rim protection, right? And is a strong rebounder. But it's crazy how these guys complement Kyrie so well because Kyrie has never played with a real lob threat before. And like Gafford is a lob threat. Like Gafford, and that's how they're killing this team. So Kyrie, his layup package is so crazy, right? It's like when he penetrates and when he gets to the rim, you're looking and you're nervous. You're like, damn, like he's about to finish on me. But then if you try to close out, if somebody tries to help, whatever, what he's gonna do, he's gonna lob it up, he's gonna do to the weak side, and then it's an alley oop all day. Boom. You know what I'm saying? Giving the weak side lob, alley oop. And then that's a lot of Gaffer's points are like putbacks or lobs. Like he's just that's how he's scoring. He's not like backing nobody down and like and killing nobody, but he's getting all the hustle points. Derek Lively is getting a lot of hustle points and rebounds. And it's complementing well with these superstar, point guards on your team at the same time. So we'll see, man. If it's the Celtics and the Mavericks, I think everybody is gonna go for the Mavericks because the streets love Kyrie. The streets really love Kyrie. People like Tatum. A lot of people like Tatum, but I think the streets and the culture, you know what I mean? They love Kyrie. I think they want to see Kyrie win it because without LeBron, I think they want to see Kyrie win it because of all the stuff that he dealt with last year. I think they want to see Kyrie win it because of all the different teams that he played for in the process of finding a home in Dallas, right? So remember he played for Boston for a quick second, right? So people are going to talk about that. That's going to be a narrative. That's going to be like, oh, he went to Boston. He played for Boston. You know, the Brooklyn experiment was a disaster, and then now he's in Dallas, and like he's whoo, he's looking like the truth, man, for real, for real. So, what do you think, man? What do you think? Can the Timberwolves come back? And ultimately, if it's the Mavericks versus the Celtics, who you got winning that? Who you got winning that? So, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. All right, this next topic, this should be relatively quick. But so we're gonna talk about Vivica A. Fox, right? Vivica A. Fox, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the backlash, and let's try to dig into it a little bit, because I'm not gonna make claims that I know this woman from the back of my hand, but the research that I've done about her and what I remember about her, there might be an explanation. So Vivica A. Fox went on a morning talk show, went on some type of talk show, and looked like a woman-centered talk show, right? And she's talking about how, she's ready to date, right? She's ready. It's almost like she's ready to settle down. So the internet's been going crazy about this because she's 60 years old, right? And like she's talking about she's ready to settle down, ready to settle down. Now, what I would say is this. What I would say is this. Let me just okay. Okay. So she's getting a lot of criticism, right? I think it's because it goes along with like a certain societal narrative, right? And women in general face the same criticism. And women in general face criticism when it seems like they have put their career over over, finding a life partner, right? Like and like prioritize their career, and then like they accomplish what they want to accomplish, and then they want to settle down, but then like when it comes to the sexual marketplace, right? Quote unquote sexual marketplace, they don't hold the same value anymore, right? Like they're older now. They might not look as good. They might be overweight. They might have a lot of kids. They might have they might have all these different things that provide them baggage to where it's like, all right, well, nobody wants you now. Like people wanted you when you was the hot thing. People don't want you now, right? So so I think she's facing some criticism when it comes to that. Another reason why I think she's facing criticism, and particularly on the internet, and if y'all don't, and this is where you know, gotta remember this, right? So this has now been like Kevin Samuels passed away, what, 2 years ago? So Vivica Fox was very vocal about her disdain for Kevin Samuels, and she overall didn't like his message, and because he has said some things about women being like throwaways and things like that when they reach a certain age and nobody wants them and things like that. Now, that kind of language and vitriol, it tends to like, because I support Kevin Samuels. I like Kevin Samuels. That language used to only come out towards women, towards specific women, when certain women were a bit delusional. Because this is the part where when he used to get a lot of criticism, the part that people always forget is that, like, well, one, the anybody he ain't never just talking about people. Like, it's these are women that want advice. And then we're always forgetting the fact that, like, a lot of these women were very irrational and they wanted crazy things. Like, these are regular women. They would be in their mid-30s. They would have, like, anywhere from like 2 to 4 kids, right? And then they would because he would ask them specific questions. All of them said that they didn't want to work anymore, and then they needed their man to make like anywhere from like 300 to $500,000 a year. And like he would just say like, one, that man doesn't exist. Like, I mean, and also, if a man is making that much money, right? Why would a man that's making all this money and maybe he doesn't even have kids yet? Why would he want to, I mean, kind of just inherit your whole lifestyle? And you're not even going to work. So you bring in maybe your looks, some sex, whatever. You're bringing that to the table. But what else are you bringing to the table? Like, so whenever anything that went viral, like, and it sounded nasty from Kevin Samuels, it would be situations that was like he was just calling you out, like, yo, are you serious right now? Like, do you understand what you're asking for versus like what's it really out here? And it's like it wouldn't make any sense. So she was vocal about not liking him, but also this is the part where people, this is why this is big on the internet right now, because she fits the narrative to some degree. Because I'm actually going to give Vivica some, I'm gonna shoot her some bail in a second, but she does fit the criteria of a one of some of these women that are like a little bit older, and like, again, like, you might have let life pass you by a little bit, right? And you not on the same level. So like, depending on what you're looking, it all depends on what she's looking for. So that's, again, this is where we're going to start shooting her bail. She didn't specify like any income level that she needs a guy to have. She just wants a guy to be her partner. She wants a guy that's going to let her do her shopping. She wants a guy that's not intimidated by her. So before all the niggas start hating, she might be looking for a regular brother like yourself out there. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, she's 60 years old. She'll be 60 in July. Yeah, I mean, granted, she's 60 years old, so you ain't gonna have no kids, whatever. And again, we're gonna circle back to that. So she looking to have some fun. Like, but she wants a relationship. She looking for a fun relationship right now. You know what I mean, at her age. And I don't think Kevin Samuels would criticize her, but the reason why she's receiving criticism so much is because she mocked Kevin Samuels' death. That's the part where, like, and if you can go back on them clips where she was on Fox Soul or whatever, and when he died, she was like, "Oh, he's saying this, whatever." But then this man killed over with the one, like she made fun of his death. Like, she mocked him. Like, it was very nasty. It was very nasty in the way she came off about it. And it's like, it's one thing that you don't like this man, but like, she was one of the people kind of celebrating, like, essentially celebrating Kevin Samuel's death. And so like the internet is like, oh, well, look at you now. Look at you now. Now you in a place where, I mean, you want something, and like you might be out of your prime, right? So that's the internet reaction. That's the internet reaction. But let's look at the facts. Let's look at the reality, right? So if we look at Vivica A. Fox's dating history and things like that. So one, I mean, Vivica A. Fox, when we were younger and things like that, she was like, in terms of like black female actresses, and like when it comes to looks, like she was like top tier. Like, she was top tier. Like, everybody wanted her. So she did have some series of relationships in the late 90s into the 2000s, where she was dating, like, she dated a couple of different athletes. Like, she dated um Terrell Owens, she dated Javon Curse for a second, she dated Dennis Rodman for a second. um but she was married. So she was married from 1998 to 2002. So she had a 4-year marriage to a man named Chris Harvest. Now, I don't really know who Chris Harvest is, right? So they got divorced. So she was married. So like let's not so we can kill that narrative of like, oh, looking to find a husband. She did find a husband and it just didn't work out, right? So if they got divorced in 2002, that was 22 years ago. She was 38 years old when she got divorced. She was 34 years old when she got married. So like she got married at the time she was supposed to get married. So let's shoot her some bail there. She got married when she was technically, I mean, and maybe she was supposed to get married earlier, but she got married and she had a 4-year relationship, 4-year marriage. Why it didn't work out? Maybe it's part of like what she said, like, she needs a man that's not intimidated. Maybe it's about that because when you look at all the people that she dated a lot of famous people, a lot, and again, a lot of athletes. She dated 50 Cent for a little bit. This guy, I don't know him, I don't know his name like to be anything. So like he might have been a regular type of guy, but like he might have been threatened or intimidated or whatever. I mean, she probably was the breadwinner, perhaps, because like I said, I don't see anything connected to him being in the industry in any sort of way. So somewhat of a regular guy. So that might be what she's talking about, where she says, like, I want somebody that's not intimidating. All right. So she did date 50 Cent, things like that. So after she got divorced at age 38, right? Yeah, I mean, so for the last 22 years, she been kind of like, yeah, she been dating here and there. She been kind of having some fun, I guess, whatever. But here's another thing, right? Vivica A. Fox does not have kids, right? However, Vivica A. Fox also has fertility issues. So we're gonna be sensitive to that, right? So that can explain. So it's not like this thing where she was just outside and like she was just being a hot girl, like and things like that. Like if we're being realistic, yeah, I mean her, I mean her, and she's been vocal about her fertility issues. Like she has quotes out there talking about like, yeah, just only the Lord knows why it was not in his plans for me to have children, right? So she's accepted that she hasn't had children, but think about, all right, she was already a 38-year-old woman when she got divorced. So like her window for having kids, like just say, her window was up to age 45, right? Well, that takes us to what, 2009? You know what I'm saying? And she would have been like 45 years old in 2009. I would imagine that her inability to have kids probably had some impact on the relationships that she had because she tends to date men that are a little bit younger than her, right? And like if these are men that don't have children and that want children, like I can see how like she hasn't had that much luck, right? In securing a marriage, like or being married to anybody. So she's definitely probably living for herself. You know what I mean? And that's unfortunate to a degree because she obviously she seemed to be happy with her lifestyle, but we can't make it seem like she was this hot girl and then like, oh, she just didn't want to do this, didn't want to do that. No, she did experience the marriage life, and then again, her not being able to have kids, it probably definitely hurt her relationships down the road. I mean, over the years. So I don't think that we should be killing her. I think we can hold her accountable for her making fun of and ridiculing Kevin Samuel's death. But in terms of her own personal relationships and like how she's conducted herself, I don't think we need to criticize. Now, one thing that people are pointing out is the appearance. So they looked at her at age what, I mean, she'll be 60, whatever. They looked at her like age in her 30s, whatever, and she was still looking good. Even in 2017, like I seen a picture of her from 2017, she's 7 years ago, looking mad good. She black don't crack, but they said black don't crack, but it sure does swell. She does look a little bit, you know, chunk. I don't think she's fat either, but like I think she's a little bit thicker in the face. Looks a little more swollen, looks a little more bloated. Um, but overall, I think she's still a beautiful woman. But again, it doesn't sound like she's looking for nothing super high stakes. I mean, probably looking for a guy in his 40s that's probably done having kids, so that's not an expectation. And she's looking to have some fun. So like, how can we fault her for that? I mean, she just wants to have a fun, and she wants to grow old with that person. So you know what I mean? Again, that might be a different take or different kind of perspective that most people were kind of looking at when they were talking about her. But like, I think you got to consider some of these facts, and that gives us a full picture of like why she at age 60 she's ready to settle down. You know what I mean, because she had no incentive to settle down prior to this. After her divorce in 2002, she literally had no incentive. The last 22 years, she had no incentive to settle down. Why was she going to settle down with somebody? Who was she going to settle down with? Sure, she could have adopted some kids with somebody and things like that. But again, if you're in the film industry and you gotta, yeah, I mean, your livelihood depends on the next job that you have. You gotta make it work. And I guess if certain men ain't, compatible with her, because again, she's not like she hasn't dated anybody. It just didn't work out, and these guys weren't compatible. But like, I'm not gonna kill her for wanting to be out there at age 60 and wanting to settle down. Right? She's not asking for what y'all think that she's asking for, because I think she's come to grips with what her reality is. Right. So let's move on. Let's move on. Last thing before we go. Yo. Have you seen the new Planet of the Apes movie? Have you seen the new Planet of the Apes movie? Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So I actually seen that movie twice. First time seen it with my little shorty, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Had a little date, whatever, went to real theaters, you know what I'm saying? Good vibes, whatever. Second time I had to run it back and I seen it with my son. All right. So I ain't gonna lie, the first time I saw it, I'm notorious for I'm admit it, I am notorious for falling asleep in movie theaters. I tend to fall asleep during kids movies. Like when I'm in the theater in the middle of the day with my son, I fall like, and it's like I don't really care about it. Like unless it's something I want to see, but it's something that he just wants to see, I'm falling asleep in that theater. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. No shame in my game. You know what I mean? It's a nice nap too. It's a nice nap. It was a later show, and it's a long movie. This movie like 2.5 hours long, almost two. I think it's like 2:15, 2 hours 15 minutes. Long movie, good movie. I did miss little pieces of dialogue, so like it was nice seeing it a second time, so I could fill in some gaps, right? But if you haven't seen it yet, spoiler alert. I'm not gonna go too crazy. I'm not gonna go too crazy, but like we're actually gonna talk a little bit about the plot. Then we're gonna talk about where it ranks. Like I'm gonna look at Vulture ranked because there's actually 10. So if we think about it, because we gotta think about the movies that happened in the 60s and 70s, there's 10 movies in this franchise. So Vulture ranks them from 10 to 1. And then we're also going to tell you how to watch these movies in chronological order. But I'm only going to get a little bit into the plot. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm just going to get a little bit into the plot. So the last Planet of the Apes movie, which I love the Planet of the Apes series, like especially since they came back in 2011, right? When James Franco was in that Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Love what they doing, love it. Yeah, I mean, I think like this iteration of it is like really dope. This reboot of it has been dope. Um, what I would say is that I think people don't realize, like, so if you're going into to watch this movie, you gotta understand that this movie takes place 300 years after War of the Planet of the Apes. So whatever happened in War of the Planet of the Apes, which was 7 years ago, right? 2017. This is 300 years after that. So if you remember War of the Planet of the Apes, Caesar died. Caesar died in War of the Planet of the Apes. So this is 300 years after Caesar's death. So that's where when I first, you know what I mean, because it's misleading when you're watching the movie, it just says generations later. Generations later don't mean nothing. Like that don't mean nothing. That don't tell me nothing. It just said generations later, and it said that how the simian flu, right? Because that's where everybody was sick with, um, is starting to like make people regress. So people are losing like people that have this are like losing language completely. They're losing certain functionality and things like that. So this takes place 300 years. So like if you're looking at the movie and you're thinking, is this related? This person related to Caesar? This ape related to Caesar? We don't know, and it's likely that they're not related to Caesar. So like in this new world, right, 300 years later, um all the apes have formed different clans, right? The apes have formed different clans. And then the humans are mostly extinct, but the humans that are still kind of around, a lot of them cannot talk anymore. Like they look like they're like animals. They're like feral animals. I mean, that's what they look like. They're verbal, but they can't speak. Like they can make sounds, but they don't have English. I mean, they don't have language. So you have all these different clans of apes, right? You have, and they specialize in different things. You have a character name that goes by the name Proximus Caesar, and a lot of these apes, they're trying to like move and trying to conduct their civilization in the name of Caesar. But what's happened is that like since this is 300 years later, a lot, and this is how the world works. A lot of the history and a lot of like there's nobody around to really know who Caesar was anymore. And so like they've interpreted history because they have like history of this. They've interpreted history in their own way. So like people are going on to like these apes are going into different paths where like they're not necessarily following the original Caesar's pathway or what he wanted. So, but they have a leader like and I would say they're like an evil clan. They have this leader and they call him Proximus Caesar, right? So, in his clan, they're trying to basically get into this vault that has like human technology because they need this human technology so they can again advance their culture. But it's weird how because this is where I won't give you the plot point. It's kind of weird how um you basically have certain clans that are like kidnapping apes from other clans and stuff like that. So like there's like it seems like there's like some ape infighting. So that goes against Caesar's vision, right? So Caesar was like, yo, no ape should harm another ape, right? No ape should kill another ape, but then like they're harming each other. So like it's like they're blurring the lines there. Um, and then you got this one human, and then you do have this human that does know how to speak. She does know how to speak. She's also trying to get into this vault as well for her own reasons, right? So you do have like humans that can't talk. You have like these other humans that are still around that still know how to speak a little bit, still have functionality. And then you have all these different apes, right? So it is a little bit like when you watch it, it's entertaining. It's entertaining, but it's confusing when you realize it's not directly connected to the story that we know, right? It's not directly connected because the world has evolved and changed so much in the last 300 years that it doesn't look like even War of the Planet of the Apes, right? So let's go into this article that I saw. So again, they rank them from best from worst to best, right? So again, remember this series takes place, it starts in the 60s, right? So and it's crazy because the first Planet of the Apes movie I seen was in 2001, the one with Mark Wahlberg, directed by Tim Burton. And that one gets a lot of criticism, right, by critics. But like I remember when I seen it, I didn't know what the problem of that one was, but it just was whatever. So let's go. Starting at 10, Planet of the Apes, 2001. They rank that as the worst movie of this franchise. The worst movie. That's number 10, right? Um, partly they say because like the makeup and like the way they try to make the apes look, it looks crazy. They also say that it doesn't really follow like the plot line, right? All right, so they say that one's the worst one. Number nine, Battle for the Planet of the Apes. That was in 1973. That was the last one from the 70s. That was the very last movie of the 70s, I believe, right? Of the 70s iteration of it. Um, that one came out in 1973. Number eight is called Beneath the Planet of the Apes, which came out in 1970. That was the sequel to the first Planet of the Apes movie, right? Then we got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So the one that just came out, they're putting that as number seven, right? So I mean, it's on the bottom half, bottom half. So I thought it was a good movie, but again, I think maybe in terms of the storyline, this is almost starting it's a new storyline, so to speak, or it's actually continuing because I'm gonna tell you how to watch these movies in chronological. If you want to watch it in chronological order, I'm gonna tell you how in a second. So number seven is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Number six is Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. So that was like the third movie. Yeah, I think that was like the third or fourth movie. So we got no, let's look. Yeah, we got Planet of the Apes. Okay, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Okay, this might have been like the third movie. No, this was the fourth movie. So this is the fourth movie. So the fifth movie is literally the fifth movie was Battle of the Planet of the Apes, right? So anyway. So yeah, so that's we're ranking them still. So it's number six, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. That's 1972. Number five, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, right? So that is the 2011. That was basically the beginning of this new version of it, right? And if we think about it, this is a prequel to all of them. This is like really how like that's the first movie that you're gonna actually see if you want to watch them in order. You actually watch Rise first, right? 2011. So that's number five. So it's in the middle. Escape from the Planet of the Apes from 1971. Okay. War for the Planet of the Apes, right? That was the 2017. That was the last one that came out before Kingdom. Planet of the Apes, 1968. So the very original movie. And then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, right, is not ranked number one. That's the one where you got like Koba and Caesar started to have like kids and stuff like that. And the simian flu outbreak is like it's kind of taking over, and like humans, it looks like they're mostly extinct at that point. Um, but yeah, that was the one where like there was some like infighting, but like you also see Caesar kind of starting his family, right? And like really like starting like the factions and trying to like start a civilization or whatever, right? So that's that. So now if you want to watch them in chronological order, this is how you watch the Planet of the Apes movies. You start with the 2011 movie, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That's the first movie you should watch. If you want to watch this all in order, watch the 2011 Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Then you watch Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Then you watch 2014. Then you watch War for the Planet of the Apes. That's 2017. Then you can watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And watch, this is only nine movies because they're gonna skip a movie. I'm gonna tell you why too. Then after Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, you should actually go back in time and go and watch the 1968 version of Planet of the Apes because I think what happens in that one, it's like their world is already established more than what it is in Kingdom. Then you watch Beneath the Planet of the Apes, all right, which was a sequel, 1970, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and then Battle for the Planet of the Apes. And they're saying that Battle for the Planet of the Apes is like really bad. Like it's not a good movie though. Like they're saying it's not that great of a movie. I think they ranked that number. I think Vulture ranked that number 9. And it says, that just leaves Tim Burton's much reviled 2001 reboot. It says you can either watch that after the 1969 Planet of the Apes to see the differences between the two, or save it until the end as a bonus watch. It says being a full-on reboot, it is the only movie in the series to not have a set place in the timeline to put it in. So the choice is yours as to where you think it fits best. So yeah, so again, if you are interested and you do like this series, that's how you watch it in order. They also, again, you could look at this Vulture article to see like where they're ranked amongst like critics. Um, I really did I like Rise. Rise is my favorite. I think Rise is my favorite. I really like Dawn too. Dawn is up there. And I think what Dawn ranked number 1. Let me double check that one. Yeah, Dawn is number 1. Dawn is number 1 for them, but Rise is my favorite, and they ranked that number 5. Then I would say Dawn, and then War, because I've only seen the 5 that I know, right? I've only seen the 5 that I know. I haven't seen the old versions of them, but I do plan on going back now and watching them. You got to watch those with a grain of salt because obviously it's gonna be dated. I mean, you're talking about 1960s movies. The budgets are low, the technology is probably bad. So, but you gotta bear with us. You gotta bear with it. But the way the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes ends, though, it looks like there's gonna be more movies, right? There's gonna be more movies. So we'll see where that goes with that. Again, I didn't tell you too much about what happens, but it's a good movie. It's a good movie. You should go check it out. What you think about this week, man? What you think about the NBA playoffs so far? What you think about Drake flipping BBL Drizzy and Sexy Red in general? How do you feel about her? How you feel about these teams left in the playoffs? How do you feel about what else did we talk about? Oh, Vivica A. Fox. How you feel about her, man? How you feel about her? And then Planet of the Apes, man. What you think? Did you see it yet? Did you see it? Leave a comment. What you think about it? What you think about it? But we're gonna wrap this up, man. I'm throwing my peace signs up, even though I did see something crazy online. They talking about this means something else, but we gonna ignore certain people in certain communities. See what I'm saying? We're not gonna, play into that, whatever. But you see the PA though. PA. No, I'm just playing. But yo, this is another episode of 280 Plus Podcast, y'all. I'm your host, Los Def. This is episode 150, and I'm out, y'all.